Okay, good morning, everyone. It is Friday, July 16th, 2021, and we're going to get started here with our pre-market analysis on the S&P 500 futures market. First thing I want to bring up here is, let me see, I have some notes, and that is, if you look at where we bounced yesterday, our previous daily low here, let me go ahead and bring up a higher time frame chart. Let's look at this from a 60-minute perspective. You can see very clearly here this swing low from July 8th. We've been talking about this push up from that low for the last few days. Look at where we bounced yesterday. That was the low of yesterday. Does anyone notice what that is? That is 50% of this whole leg right here. A very clear leg, and we bounced right off of it. We had a 60-minute bullish indication. I believe we had a 30-minute bullish indication and a 10-minute bullish indication from that low. And so we had our intermediate to higher time frames giving a bullish signal. Right off 50% of all of this whole push up. It doesn't get any better than that. I mean, that's just absolutely beautiful what happened there. And then after we bounced off that level and pulled back in Globex, we pulled back and got another bullish indication here on the 60-minute. I don't think we saw it on the 30-minute, but we saw it on the 10-minute. No, I take that back. It was on the 30-minute, the 10-minute, the 60-minute, all bullish indications from right here. And so what happened was last night for me, and I apologize that I did not announce this in the room, but I got a text message thanks to the divergence analyst that I got here, and it gave me an alert that my 10-minute was showing a bullish divergence. And I'll just bring up what I saw here. So I got it, and the cool thing about this divergence analyst is it sends an alert and a picture of your chart. So you can just go on your phone, you see the chart, you see the signal. And I saw this right here, just at the end of about almost 8 p.m. last night for me. So I was getting ready for bed, winding down. And so I jumped to the charts, and I noticed right here around 1950 on the chart, I had the 10-minute, which I saw from my phone. And then I went on my 3-minute, and I'll just bring it up here. The 3-minute was showing right here, 1936, this bullish indication over here as well. And so then I looked down, and we could probably even see it here on the 1-minute. If we go all the way back there to 1930 something, right there, another bullish indication on the 1-minute. So what I did was I went ahead, and I have it marked here on the tick chart. I went ahead and tried a long. So you see this white candle or this white arrow? That's where I actually went long at 42.50. And so what I'm trying to point out here is that you don't have to get the low tick of the multi-time frame signal. So the multi-time frame signal was off the previous daily low, and we got the bounce, and remember the pullback, and then I mentioned that we got a bullish indication on that pullback. That bullish indication was down here at 38.25. I didn't get that 10-minute signal until we were up here. But my bias was long because I had a bullish indication from the previous daily low. It pushed, it pulled back, and if you look at the pullback here, it actually pulled back right into the 61.8. So the 61.8 was right there. In fact, there was a bullish indication there as well that you can't see on the tick chart. Or maybe you can actually see it here as well. It just wasn't identified. We bounced out of the 61.8. We just probed through it by literally 2 points. And that's where we got the bullish indication here on a bunch of different time frames. Bounced out of that level. And then when I got the signal on the 10-minute here on the little pullback, I went ahead and got long at 42.50 here. And then look what happened. We pushed all night from 42.50, almost making it 20 points. So this is how you use these signals. You don't have to nail the bottom. You don't have to nail the top. You just have to get all the confluence of signals at a level and then look for an entry on a pullback. And sometimes it doesn't work, but for me last night, it worked out absolutely beautifully. So let me bring this back over here and let's get started with our pre-market analysis. I thought that was a really informative way to show you, since after our study session yesterday, some people were questioning, well, what if your multi-time frame signal doesn't work and things like that. You don't have to get in at the high tick or the low tick. You can get in on a pullback when you get another confluence of signals. This signal came in, again, we looked at it, the 3-minute, the 1-minute, and the 10-minute all were showing that indication. So let's jump to our ultra high time frames and take a look at what's going on this morning. Again, quarterly just looking super strong. Monthly looking super strong. Weekly, and remember we talked about this yesterday, the weekly bar itself started to look a little ambivalent after our little sell-off that we had. And it was kind of like we had I don't even know the name of it, but we had a wick to the top end and the bottom end, essentially equidistant from the center. And it looked a little ambivalent. And now things still are looking fairly strong, especially after the push from the overnight session, from the level we were just talking about. And on RVI itself, no indications of exhaustion. Everything looks strong. We get to our daily, and remember on, I think yesterday we talked about the bar before we had the bearish indication, which is what helped give us a more bearish case going into yesterday's market and why we expected it to be more bearish. And then we had some other things that were telling us that the low of the day that we had going into the open yesterday was not going to be low enough. And sure enough, we pushed another, we'll have to look at it on shorter time frames. I forget the level, but we broke the low that I told you I was skeptical about and continued to push lower, and then bounced here at that 50% retracement level of this whole push up. So that was that bearish indication from the 14th. Right now, this current candle is giving us absolutely no good information. Of course, we have all of today for this to develop, for this signal to close, so we can't say anything about the current bar. What I can tell you about this previous daily bar that did close, we have a huge wick down to that low of the day from yesterday, and so ideally for a bullish case this morning, we want to break above the previous daily high at 70.25, and we definitely do not want to break below the previous daily low. That's going to be a little bit more of a bearish case. From the actual divergence perspective, all we have is that bearish indication from the all-time high, and which was the high from 2 days ago. We jump down to our 4-hour. There's the agreement on the 4-hour from the 14th. We got the pullback, and right now, like I was telling some of you before we started the pre-market, is we're starting to get some 4-hour bearish indications, which will be negated if it breaks through 70.25, which is that level I just mentioned on the daily. We got to get above that for this bullish case this morning. And so this signal, although we are seeing it right now, it hasn't officially closed because we need to wait for this bar to close in 40 minutes from now at 7 a.m. Pacific. So this situation is probably going to change. So I wouldn't put too much faith in the potential bearish indication right now. Outside of that, we don't really have any other clear signals. We just have that bearish setup from the 14th. On the 60-minute, now we start to get some resolution off these lows, and this kind of brings us right back to what we were talking about just right at the beginning of the pre-market analysis, which is we pulled back again from that high on the 14th where we got another bearish confirmation on the 60-minute. We pulled back and we bounced directly off the 50% retracement of this whole leg. Very clear, beautiful, clean bounce. In fact, it's almost to the actual tick there. And right now you can see, and look at this bullish indication on the 60-minute. This was off of the 1900 candle from last night. If you remember, I went long around 1938, so about 30 minutes after. So I saw in my charts when I came to them that my 60-minute, my 30-minute, my 10-minute, they were all giving me that signal right there. And so that's the most recent reliable signal we have on the 60 minute is the bullish indication from the candle that closed around 1900 last night. And right now, there really are no other indications from a divergence perspective that really makes any sense to mention right now. And so you can see that 70 quarter, again, is going to be kind of like a dividing line. You could argue from that high there, if we go down to the RVI level, we are making somewhat of a divergence there. But if we break that level, which is only about 2 or 3 points away, they will no longer be there. So I do think that that's going to be a good possibility here coming into the open, that we are going to test the level, if not break through, and then we won't really have to worry about that 4 hour and potential little 1 hour indication here. So let's jump down to our intermediate time frames, and we'll go to our 30-minute here. And again, 30-minute, there's the bullish indication from the previous daily low. There's the bullish indication I saw when I got to the screen last night about 7:30 going into 8 o'clock-ish right there. And right now, really no signs of exhaustion as we push, which again, I do think it makes sense that we're going to come up and at least test that level, if not break through. And then any type of bearish indication we have will be negated up there. I told everyone before we jumped into the pre-market that we were testing this 61.8 retracement of the whole push down. So from the all-time high to the low we made yesterday, this very clear leg down, we were testing 61.8, and we had a beautiful multi-time frame signal. So like our 4 hour, which we were just talking about, was showing that potential setup, even though the candle closes in another 40 minutes. It was showing a potential. We had our 60-minute showing a potential, which again still needed to close in 40 minutes. So still developing, no confirmation of an actual signal. And then our 30-minute is not showing that anymore. It was showing it a little while ago. So we broke right through that 61.8 level that we were talking about before we started the pre-market. And so it looks like we're probably going to come up and test this from this 30-minute perspective as well. Outside of that, I don't see anything else worth noting here on the 30-minute. Again, there's that dividing line in the sand at 43.70 quarter. We really like to break up and break that. And here's that 10-minute signal. So the 10-minute signal, right when we were at the 61.8 retracement, had actually closed. So we had like 1 minute, 3 minute, 10-minute, 30-minute, potential 60-minute, potential 4 hour. And then again, it was a potential 30-minute, but then that 30-minute did not follow through once the candle closed. So that's breaking through there. And another interesting thing to note here from a retracement perspective, if we zoom back here and we just take a look at this push. So remember yesterday, the bounce off 32.50, we pushed up and we made this first leg. And then things started to pull back here, right? And then we bounced, and interestingly enough, look where we bounced. This is where we did get that other bullish signal before the signal that I got on my phone, and bounced right there with a number of time frames giving a bullish signal. That was 61.8 retracement of this very specific leg here, right? So it bounced, it came down, it probed, and this is what I was talking about earlier, probed it by just about 2 points, maybe less than that. Yeah, 2 points, and then continued higher. But what my point here is that if we look up here at the 27% extension of this leg, that was at 43.60 or maybe 43.59.75. If we zoom forward here, look at where the market ended up going to and finding resistance for quite a while. The high there on that bar right there, 43.60 to the tick. All right to the 27 extension, pulled back, came right back to it, tested it again, and this is 10-minute bars. So this is 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 1 hour, pulled back, right off that 27% extension, came up, tested it again, another hour later, pulled back from it, okay, came up, tried to test it again, pulled back, and then finally broke. And this is, again, just a testament to how strong fib retracement levels and extension levels really are. Now, it's the 61.8 is right where we are now, and it looks like we're just going to bust right through. But a lot of times you're going to see a retracement of a leg, bounce off the 38, the 50, or the 61, go right to the 27. So this is a great first target for you guys who are trying to assimilate this kind of Fibonacci analysis into your trading. So from this 10-minute perspective, yes, it is showing these potential bearish indications, but remember what we were just talking about. The second we can get to the 70 quarter and break just even a tick or two above, we will negate a lot of the bearish signals. And I would even argue that the current bearish signal that you're seeing here on the 10-minute is not necessarily a signal I would draw myself. This is from the divergence analyst. Because we did get divergence from this previous high from here, I would not be necessarily comparing that anymore. But there is an argument to be made. So there's still somewhat of a bearish signal there on the 10-minute. So if I could kind of wrap this up here, we are getting close to the open. All the ultra high time frames look very strong and they don't have any indications of exhaustion. Our daily is basically in a situation here, let's bring it up, where we really want to break the previous daily high right here. We're very close, just 2 points away now. And so once we break that, we'll have a really nice kind of break of that previous daily candle, which would be a bullish case. When we look down to our the shorter end of our high time frames, the 4-hour and the 60-minute, they are not really giving us too much information. We, again, just really want to break above that 70 quarter, the previous daily high. And then when we get to our 30-minute and our 10-minute, they both look very strong. And remember, we do have all the bullish indications off the previous daily low, off the pullback after we bounced off the previous daily low back here at about, let's call it 5 p.m. Pacific. We probed it by a point or two and then continued to go. Got another bullish indication about 7 to 8 o'clock last night on multiple time frames. And so right now we have a lot more bullish signals than we do bearish signals. And that gives me kind of more confidence in a bullish morning here if we could break above 70 quarter. So that will be kind of our line in the sand. And then of course, if we do pull back, if we get some nice short time frame signals off of some of these important levels below us, we can go ahead and try to jump in to see if we get a continuation higher. Because it's not out of the question that we get some type of shallow pullback or a decent pullback, maybe to 50% of the previous day, and then the market continues higher. So hopefully that gives everybody a good outline for what to look for this morning. And we will go ahead and dial down to our short time frames here and start looking for some setups this morning.